it going, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Arcane Archive presents Cautionary Chronicles. That's right, we're back with another incredible, astounding stories and tales of daring do. Well, mostly horrendous horribleness, but I mean, you know, there's some daring do in here, I would say, from some of the OPs or some other of the individuals mentioned, you know, maybe standing up for themselves finally and putting
growing
their
a
foot down.
spine.
Yeah, you know, to adversity and all kinds of other horrible things. And you know what? We like that. We appreciate that. That's what it's all about. Because after all, at the end of the day, anybody's trials, tribulations, and obstacles placed in their way are placed there specifically for the explicit purpose of overcoming them, right? Of growing stronger and more resilient and capable, more mature, you know? Growth. We love it here. That's what we're always looking for. That being the case, though, we will say that there are a lot of these unfortunate horror story individuals that clearly have never probably grown a day in their life aside from physically, which is exceedingly unfortunate. And we do kind of pity them just a little bit, just a smidge, you know, because it's just so sad, so very sad. But, you know, with that being said, as always, if you're here with us, if you're liking kind of what we're doing here, please be sure to like and comment down below in the video. You know, it helps us out immensely. Let us know kind of what your thoughts are on everything and kind of like these stories that we're telling. If you have any suggestions of some stories or things that you'd like to share or that you'd like us to talk about, we'd love to be able to interact more with everybody. Also be sure, obviously, to subscribe and share the channel if you haven't already. It helps us out immensely, and we appreciate the hell out of it. But with that all squared away, Sammy, let's go ahead and start today's episode of Cautionary Chronicles. This post is titled One Shot Ruined by Racism and My Own Stupidity by Santian. I'm a new DM and wanted to host a one-shot adventure for my friends. The adventure would take place inside a mad wizard's maze that would be revealed to be SCP-3008 at the end of the night. Interesting concept. I can kind of appreciate that, I guess. For this, I requested one thing from my players. Make sure that you create a character that has ended up behind bars. Prisoners that would be requested to delve into this maze of death. Now, out of my 5 players, one of them I only knew in passing. She, we'll call her Sarah, was at the time dating my friend that we'll call Fred. Now, as Fred requested her to join, I had no reason to reject at the time. She's never played before, so they figured this would be a good chance to introduce her to TTRPGs. Seems, I don't know, with this particular kind, well. For the next week, I gathered everyone's character sheets aside from Sarah's, as she wanted to surprise us on the day. That is almost always an absolute no-no. Absolutely not. With Fred reassuring me that he'll make sure her stats and equipment were correct. Huge mistake on me to let this slide. I mean, I'm just saying, bro, that is never, I don't think I've seen or heard any stories or instances where like this works at all, like where this is okay in any freaking way. Finally, on game day, everyone gathers aside from Fred and Sarah. Shocker. Giving them a message, I learn that they just forgot about the game completely, despite my reminder to the group chat the day prior. Already my second mistake, I tell them to come over and that will wait in the meantime. Why? No, why? Why would you do that? Like, just play without them. Say no. You say you had 5 players, so you have 3. That's fine. 3 is enough. 2 hours later, they finally arrive. No big deal. I'll just cut down what I had planned. Why? Why would you, now you're cheating the rest of the players out of the full experience as well as yourself? All right, I'm gonna shut up. I have to keep going. I ask everyone around the table to introduce their characters. Everything goes well, some inventive and funny ideas for characters, all until I ask Sarah to introduce herself. Okay, here I will do a one-to-one quote that escaped her mouth. Hey, yo, what's up, niggas? My name is B.I. I'm from the hood, and I got arrested after I robbed a store and hid out in my crib. I love eating watermelon and smoking that Krizak. At this, there was just a deafening silence. This white Australian girl just casually spouting this just took us all by surprise. Fred, on the other hand, laughed nervously and told us that he never looked over her backstory, but tried reassuring her that it was funny. The worst part, however, I didn't end the game there. I told myself that it would get better, that the worst had passed, that we were finding some light at the end of the tunnel. But no. It was like this the entire afternoon. 5 more painful hours of awkward interactions as Sarah continued to dig themselves a hole, calling it ironic and how South Park also makes these jokes. Eventually, after the game, I finally kicked the both of them out and have not spoken to either Fred or Sarah since. I have made apologies to all of my players and since then have had a lot of fun games. Suffice it to say, this was a huge learning experience and not at all a fun one. TLDR, I invited a person I hardly knew to play with us. They then played as a racist stereotype of an African American with no shred of humility or self-awareness. End post. Yeah. See,
I'm thinking to myself, I don't think South Park uses the N-word. You gotta.
No, I'm pretty sure it has at some point.
But very rarely, if at all.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I know
again,
they used it during the Kanye situation.
Yeah, they use it in the Kanye situation. They have used it in situations where they are showcasing how ridiculous, black culture, black people can be at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
the Crips episode.
Yeah,
with,
the Bloods
Jimmy
and the Crips.
Jimmy.
Yeah, the Bloods and the Crips.
But they're again very light usage comparably.
I would say again, to be fair, some of the comments down here I think also says it well. Where it's like. One commenter says, yeah, I'm okay with crass humor in the right setting because, as they said, South Park does it too. But 1, there's a time and a place. And 2, this is not the way to introduce yourself. And it's like, another commenter says, well, yeah, but this isn't even crass humor, though. This is just blatant racism. There's no punchline other than racism. She should have just been kicked from the get-go. And another commenter says, and South Park has had a lot of dud episodes with cringe moments. Being like South Park isn't a stamp of quality for edgy jokes, which is they're right in terms of that. There's no doubt at all, South Park, there has been plenty of shit episodes of South Park.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just with how long they have been going on, almost with any series, they're going to have some shit episodes. But I will say, South Park has also, they are geniuses. They've done a lot of, they are the kings and queens of satire.
They've done stuff that nobody dared to do, and they did it well.
And they did it well.
They
usually produce it most of the time, not all the time, but usually do produce it and showcase it with legitimate thought and intelligence behind it. There's an actual point to it. There's usually, again, satire. There's literal kind of dialogue or subtext that they are intending to put forth. Whereas with this, as the commenter down below said, there is no actual punchline satire. She's just being blatantly racist.
She is just doing a caricature of a black person as someone who probably has zero idea what the culture is about.
Yeah,
because also let's also just be fair here. A lot of that satire and comedy is based off American black culture. You're Australian. You have no fucking clue what that
probably has very little idea.
I'm not gonna say I do because look at me, but I've at least been around people.
I mean, there's a difference. You are in American culture, and yes, it's the black, we have black men. Yes, there is obviously there's a very clear kind of stereotype that can happen and come forth, and it's been used to death in Hollywood and all kinds of things before too. So it's sure, there can be people like this, interestingly enough, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, it's what
Yeah,
Why are you playing? Why are you
watch
playing
my
this?
favorite show, The Boondocks.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
a watch The
Boondocks is
Boondocks.
the perfect fucking show. I love the Boondocks. It
Boondocks is
showcases,
awesome.
bro. The nigga moment episode is one of the
It
best
is so
ever.
good.
It's just so freaking good.
Between that and any
Literally,
episode with the two white guys that want to be black so
I want to be
bad,
like, yeah,
and they're like robbing
and one
banks.
slur the third, yeah,
Yeah,
with with
they're
Remy.
like
I
that's
mean,
a
well, funny
great.
enough, Remy's literally played by Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. But it's a good like.
How could I know of
They,
an unknown? That was an unknown, not a known unknown.
it's like that's the same type, like that's the same angle of comedy where it's just ridiculous and stereotypical and crass, but then they
But
back it up into something more than that.
exactly.
That you're like, oh, this is wonderful.
But it's also like anything that's like like if you're gonna make fun of something, it also does have to come along with a so-called bit of respect to
oh yeah,
the culture of it and its entirety.
Well,
Whereas again, this she right here, like this isn't like it's like again what is the intention here with this character? What is this exactly? Point being, you're just being kind of a racist shithead right now.
Yeah.
Like
and even using this kind of comedy to maybe call out some bad things in the community, like the R. Kelly episode from the Boondocks. That was one that was basically saying like, really?
Dude,
really, y'all?
Fucking
Really?
Chappelle Show is another great
Yes.
like example of how you can kind of call out some really ridiculous, crazy black culture shit going on. Like, same thing as Key and Peele. Key and Peele did some nice episodes in regards to that too. Like, but again, there's a clear intention of nuance and like mess and subtext. Whereas this is she's just blatantly being like, she's like, oh my God, this shock factor is gonna be hilarious because it's such a stereotypically race. It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
You know this isn't
just
actually
trying to be racist.
funny. Yeah. You're just trying, she's just going for shock value because she didn't have any other idea. And that's unfortunately means that you not only made a shit character that no one will like, but you also just showed your whole ass to everybody. Yeah. And you are now branded again as a racist douchebag, which is, I don't think what you wanted. No. So I honestly, I kind of just feel sorry for her a little bit. It really is unfortunate. I think
I've known people like this that I've had to cut out of my life. That at a certain point growing up, they could never grow out of making edgy humor for the point of edgy humor, like to hurt other people's feelings. Well, not to be funny, and it's like this was right? Funny 6 years ago, but now
they're just kind of racist. They're just so again pitiful. Like it's just sad because because exactly like we just said at the beginning of this video, they haven't grown at all. Like they are. This is clearly a sign of social ineptitude. She doesn't know how to actually engage, at least in this way, right? Probably not in other ways if this is how she chooses to try a new situation, like outside of her comfort zone. But it's clear she's got some real social ineptitude if this is what she thought would be the big, like, oh my God, I'm meeting my boyfriend's friends for the first time and we're playing this game. This is going to be how I ingratiate myself to the group. Like this is the moment. First, like that being her go-to card. She's not know how to interact, bro.
Yeah, it's like, man, you do really well in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, good luck finding that now. Although to be fair, maybe any Call of Duty. Then again, she is a girl, so we take it back. No, she wouldn't. She would not do well at all.
If you could,
hey, if we're talking about like a quintessential stereotypical modern, where if we're talking about a lobby where they would like this shit, she would not be received well in that.
Well,
she would have to use like a voice changer, and then she'd be the life of the party. But the moment it comes out that she's a girl,
not fantastic.
All hell breaks loose, completely defeats the purpose. But you know what? Let's go ahead and continue on to the next story of the day. Sammy, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, the next one we have up is problematic player turned to DM, railroading characters and being very inflexible.
By Chunky Borb.
Ooh. As a first-time DM, long-time player, I decided to run a custom-made one-shot for some friends. Went super well, so we decided to turn it into an impromptu campaign. Only problem was one of my players was super annoying the whole time. He would laugh openly and mock me and my plot developments, text his friends the whole time and interrupt me, and would harp on things I did in the past, like lose character sheets by accident and try an experimental dungeon that didn't go over well. but still had okay comment and the like. The other members of the party were super polite and accommodating and gave me great actionable feedback regarding the last point with the dungeon. So I didn't see any problems. Due to graduation and the like, the group disbanded, but the problematic player decided to start being the DM instead for his own one shot. I decided to go along with it out of some sort of obligation. Before the new session started, I know this is. I asked him how he felt about my
Just
campaign.
right away.
Yeah, and he said he didn't like the way I did things and listed off various things that, while I could have done better, really
A
could
little
really
bit
be
of it
attributed
could
to the
really be,
guy
yeah.
not paying attention or eagerly engaging with mechanics. It was just kind of mean spirited, and he tried to imply that he would do a better job than I did, which was kind of disheartening and left a bad taste in my mouth. But it's on me for not doing a module, so I understand. No,
No, there's
no,
no
that's
reason at all for him to be mean
no.
spirit. Like again, there's one thing
Well,
with giving
unless it was really really bad and you didn't
well,
take criticism, but it
but
sounds
no,
like you
but
did.
that's what I'm saying. It's like there's it's one thing to be constructive. You can be constructive and progressive with criticism. It's completely another thing entirely to just be destructive
I
and
was gonna say I prefer to use
just
destructive
yeah, I'm
criticism.
sure you do, Sammy. Just to start tearing shit and people down instead of actually providing legitimate feedback that can help them get better instead
Yeah.
of just making them feel like shit. Like, it's like that scene from Futurama back in the day where Fry is trying to like play the holophoner and he had like the devil's hands, but then the devil tricks him and takes his hands back or whatever. And then he's like, and everybody's sitting there going like, "Go ahead, finish the show." He's like, "But I can't play anymore." And Zoidberg's like, "The music was always in your heart, not your hands." And he tries to play, and it's bad. And then Zoidberg's like, "Your music's bad, and you should feel bad."
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah. It works. I mean, if that's your goal. Um
just tears him down after trying to build him up. It's just like,
Tears them apart.
just eviscerates him. I'm sorry. Continue, please.
Yeah. The first one shot he did was a module rather than something custom made, so it went well enough. But he said he wanted to do what I did and continue it as a whole campaign. I went along with it, but he leveled our characters down, wrote
Oh
parts of our
no. Mm-mm.
backstories for us,
No.
and basically decided to make his own Faerun inside the existing Faerun, which kind of forcibly rewrote most of our backstories. After that, it kind of got worse. He became
Oh,
incredibly inflexible, doing a variety of things that made me as a player freak out. He would do things like guilt people into staying for the whole session, even if they absolutely had to leave early. Nighttime campaign on a work night. Tell people to wait to take bathroom breaks, and get mad if he couldn't railroad us because our characters didn't want to take the random side quest. The recent session we had was kind of my last straw, as it included all the previous shenanigans and then some. Basically, we got snowed in, or sanded in, by a perpetual sandstorm with a family living in the desert. Our quest was to go to a pyramid in the desert, and my character figured out that if we went northeast, we could reach it, and we would have to make our own way, though, due to us falling off of the caravan that was taking us there. The sandstorm was really bad and would likely kill us before we got to the area, so we wanted to take shelter and use the debris outside to perhaps craft a vessel. I don't. That's not really how sandstorms work, but fair enough. Meanwhile, there's a weird,
well, maybe it's like they have
kind of
like
and kind of not.
almost like Avatar, where you have like those sand ships or whatever, where the sand benders could like
No,
literally
no, no, no. That's not what I
like
meant. I meant a sandstorm won't outright kill you necessarily.
it
There's
could if
yeah,
it's like
but
if you are right
oh
in the middle of a
yeah,
sandstorm, like it
sure.
fills your lungs,
But
like
if you
you
have
get
any,
buried in
yeah,
sand.
yeah, if you have any sort of protective gear and magic, there's probably ways to.
I mean, you can have. I mean, that's true. I think protective gear, maybe magic
Oh no,
could
they were
help
low
you.
level, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's their level. Yeah, I think what
Two.
does it say?
They're level
Level.
two.
Jeez.
Um,
Jeez.
so they were trying to craft a vessel. Meanwhile, there's a weird murder mystery going on in the family. And the crops are being trampled on, so the family accuses us for some reason. The family accuses us. For some reason, the mom knows how to cast Zone of Truth. She is not a mage. And interrogates each of us. Basically, there's a lot of things in this mystery that ignore the rules of magic. Such as the mom
Well
being able
said.
to transmute carrots into chicken, her being able to Zone of Truth 12 times a day as a commoner, and just other stuff that doesn't line up. My character is a wizard, so I set up alarm around the house, and we continue trying to find a way to escape. The DM wanted us to engage with the plot of the family, but in character, we all wanted to find a way out of the storm without imposing on the family. My character is an artificer wizard multiclass, so I wanted to try and engineer a solution with the rest of the party. We're all having fun trying to engineer a solution, coming up with ways to make adhesive, to put planks together, and I start working on a prototype for my steel defender. Level 2 artificer, so this is a prelude to the full battlesmith feature. So they're not level 2, they're higher than that if he's a multi-class. We're all riffing off each other and having a really fun time. The cleric suggests that we make a sort of toboggan, since wheels would get stuck in the sand. The bard suggests we use mending on wooden debris to repair some of the planks, and I get to work on the adhesive and a mechanical
Freak.
I don't know what that means.
Like he's making like almost like a Frankenstein monster thing,
okay.
or like but mechanical freak to then pull the wagon.
And a robot to pull the wagon.
Yeah,
it's a really cool moment, and we're just spending each day helping the family and the like. After a couple of days, an alarm goes off, and it turns out the whole murder mystery was that their pet turtle was actually a turtle dragon, and was killing family members and the like. This guy really likes that saying. And we did not see it coming whatsoever. We killed a turtle, and the family is not too shaken up about half their family dying, and the caravan returns for some reason, knowing exactly where we are somehow. We fell off the caravan, and the people in it didn't know we left.
I mean, if you've been there for a couple of days, maybe somebody may have noticed.
But how do you know when they would fall off?
Well,
either way, it doesn't. I get them saying it's
no, agreed. It's like if how the caravan just showed up out of nowhere does sound like okay.
A lot of this session's failings can be attributed to new DM shit happens, but things kind of spiral afterwards. After the session, the DM kind of goes off on us for not engaging with the murder mystery. That we should have looked for footprints, asked the family members, been more inquisitive, and kind of insults our intelligence. He then gets critical of me in particular for not suspending my disbelief that the mom has the spell capabilities of a level 14 caster. He also gets critical of us trying to engineer a solution with seemingly no one in sight to help us. He called what we were doing a huge time waster that made us miss clues. I'm not an expert DM by any means, but this really left a sour taste in my mouth, and I don't know how to politely tell the guy I don't want to do this campaign anymore.
Then do it not politely.
Edit and update. Sent my message and left the group. As a clarification, the reason I hesitated to do so to begin with was the following. Friend of a friend, so worried this would cause a falling out. This person has gaslit me into believing I'm too sensitive in the past, guilted us by saying how much work he put in, and no one else had spoken up, so I thought I was the only one that saw a problem with everything. And general avoidance because, hey, it's 3 hours once a week, I can put up with it. And the late nights and refusal to pause for bathroom breaks didn't really affect me personally, and only happened during the last session before I left. In any case, I found my spine. Thanks, y'all, for the advice.
Okay, all right. In post. You know what? At better late than never, I suppose.
I mean,
they got there.
I'm very confused, just in general. Like, how do you tell people? How can you make people not take bathroom breaks? I just like, I don't get it. Like, cause like low key, if I was at a table, I'm assuming this is at an actual table.
I mean,
if this guy has any hold over anyone, I assume this is at an actual table. Because if you're on Discord or Roll20,
that's what I'm saying.
Whatever,
you
can just
stop
get up.
you.
The fuck are you gonna do,
He can't stop you. I guess he would he would ban them. He'd be like, oh, well, you're out of the campaign then. And I'd be at that point. I'd be like, all right, fuck off. I'm gonna go to the bathroom then.
Yeah,
bye.
Like in person, if I got up and be like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, and someone goes, no, I'd go like, hey.
Are you gonna? Yeah, are you gonna? How are you gonna stop me?
I can pee on you if you want. Yeah, is that what you want?
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, all right, you want me to go to the bathroom? I'll just walk over, open your mouth, like what? Like
I'm gonna pee in your fucking water bottle.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want from me? Like this shit is ridiculous here. I don't understand how he could possibly force or guilt trip anyone into not going to the bathroom. Of all things,
like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like if
work is crazy enough, it's like you got to go to work, like, but especially it's like he's literally trying to manage your bodily functions that you like. Not even your own work does that to you, like
I'm not gonna be that guy, but like if someone told me no and I said I can either pee on you or go pee outside, and then they said, "Oh, you're not going to the bathroom anywhere. Sit down." I'd knock their fucking teeth out.
Yeah, like
Like
I
what?
mean,
What do you
like,
mean?
or it's like
What do you mean?
no. And if they get up to try and stop me, then I'm gonna knock their
Yeah,
goddamn
that's what I
teeth
mean.
out.
Well,
It's like,
yeah, it'd be more funny to do it while they're sitting down because
yeah,
they're in an
well,
awkward position.
but still,
But
it's like, hey, if you want to
yeah,
stop me from going, it's like, okay, no, I'm gonna stand up and start leaving. If you're gonna try and physically force me, yeah, I'm gonna break your fucking arm, bro. Like,
yeah.
what are you gonna fucking, what are you
I
doing?
love it. I don't understand it at all. I
Like,
also
I just
I
don't understand how any of them put up with this in terms of like, why didn't anybody say anything else? Be like, you can't stop them from going to the bathroom. Like, especially if this happened to potentially multiple people, where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna, either guilt trip you, or I'm gonna try and force you not to go to work so you can end the session for like, that's not how that works at all. If someone needs to go, then the session usually ends for either everybody, or you allow the player to leave and the session continues with the rest of the players. Like that's how that works. You don't guilt trip the player into staying longer if they need to leave. Like I don't I don't understand how nobody's talked about this, especially like because the OP says down here, he's like, I also didn't say anything for so long because no one else had spoken up at any point. So I thought I was the only one that saw a problem with everything. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine in any reality of this, the next, or the vast multitude of the multiverse where anyone would think it was okay for a person to not be able to leave to go to the bathroom for something. Like, I get it, some people can, it's been known, oh, people use that as an excuse to get out of things, but it's like, well, yeah, but also people do need to go to the bathroom. That's a thing that happens. Sorry to tell you, you can't really deny them that. It is a necessary bodily function. So, especially with this, I also can't see how anybody would hate, like, unless it's like a thing maybe that they're doing like every 5 seconds, where they're like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom now. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom now. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom now. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like, then it's like, okay, then they probably don't have to go to the bathroom, or they have a legitimate medical issue that they should be getting checked
go
out.
home, dickhead. Or
Yeah,
go to the hospital.
Yeah, one of the two, either way, is like, so at that point, it's like they don't want to be here. Just continue without them anyway. It doesn't matter at that point. If they're doing some stuff that's keeping them away from the table, like consistently, you don't have to wait for them. They don't have to be involved. Go without them then at that point. Like, I don't know. There's like, I legitimately, I understand like what they're saying. Like, again, a friend of a friend, so worried that that would cause a falling out. It's like, oh, I mean, I get it. I understand. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, you're going to sit here and literally take abuse? And it was literally abuse. It wasn't even like it was just shit D&D. This dude was literally being emotionally and verbally abused by this guy repeatedly, just being destructive and just shitting on him. And he was just like, yep, cool, awesome, dope. Like, it just took it and was like, yeah, you know what? That can maybe be used as a constructive thing here, maybe. I kind of don't like it, though. It feels a little disheartening. It's like, but you know what? OP, if you ever see this, you got there. At the end of it all, it took a while. You already have acknowledged that you made some mistakes. You gave your reasoning for why, you hesitated to just get out of there. I get it. I understand. You seem to be an individual who is legitimately like considerate and open to other people and things. And I think that is an amazing trait and quality that not a lot of people have, or at the very least that they don't tap into. And so, you know what? I respect the hell out of that. And I'm just glad at this point that you were able to learn and get to a more balanced place with that, where you can be now considerate and you can hear feedback and what people say, but you're also hopefully at this point able to sort out the toxic bullshit over, from the actual legitimate constructive pieces. So with that, you know what? Good for you, my man. Hopefully this kind of shit doesn't happen to you ever again. And this douchebag asshole of a GM gets whatever's coming to him and he loses all of his friends and it dies alone. not that
God
last part. Not that
damn,
last part.
Adam. God damn.
Just wanted to get a little bit of a spicy in there for a moment. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story, though. We have another just absolutely golden boy story of a GM here in this one, folks. This one is titled "GM is All Around Trash, Attempts to Pull Mazes and Monsters" by Garlic Gun. Now, so heads up, bit of a trigger warning for you guys. There's a bit of a violence warning as well as like whole hell of a lot of gaslight manipulation kind of thing. It's kind of crazy, actually. This shit here, like when I read this initially, I was like, this shit gets kind of wild. Like not in a violent way. Like it doesn't get like physically abusive, luckily, but the mind manipulation and the mind fuckery gets bonkers. It's kind of crazy. So just trigger warning for anybody who has triggers to like gaslighting in particular. So I want to begin this story with a very simple statement. At the time that this was happening, I did not love myself. I stayed in a bad D&D game because I was in a relationship with the GM for most of it. And I stayed in the relationship with him because I had no self-respect. Simple as that. Fair enough. If you ever question why someone wouldn't just leave during any point in this story, you now have your answer. I also wasn't perfect during the story, but I think actively made attempts on my life sort of eclipses wasn't that great of a tablemate. The following story will contain a lot of arson, murder, and jaywalking, i.e. the TV trope. Trigger warning for emotional manipulation, physical abuse, gaslighting, and all-around abusive fuckery. The timeline might be a bit messed up because of the above trigger warnings, so if I gloss over an event or when it happens, such as when we got together during the story, my bad. This all starts when I was 19 years old. I was looking for a Dungeons & Dragons game when I came across a local game shop that had just started a Critical Role-based homebrew campaign, intended for beginners. Now, I had a couple of years of D&D under my belt at this point, and no knowledge of Critical Role, but asked if I could join anyways. The GM, who I'll call Crow, agreed to let me on board. He was a tall guy who believed that he was the smartest and greatest in any room that he was in. Now, the first red flag started around here. Crow had a penchant for screaming, directly behind me, right in my ear. This was because he thought my startle response was funny. I had opened up about wanting to make queer characters, and he gave a satisfactory answer. So I chalked up the screaming to some sort of awkwardness and settled on him being a decent guy. On to the campaign itself, which was rife with problems. My entry was pretty cool. I had decided to play a warlock of the Raven Queen, and he gave me a pretty flashy entrance to help save the party from a fight they'd got themselves into. In retrospect, this was indicative of a grander issue, however. Crow played favorites and would use the campaign to love bomb me and stroke the egos of his favorite other players, only to then turn around and largely ignore other players. It's something I felt bad about at the time, but also couldn't really articulate. As the campaign progressed, it was clear that Crow had absolutely no clue how to adapt to pacing and people throwing wrenches in his plans. The campaign functioned on a milestone system, so after certain events, we would level up. The problem was that oftentimes we would clear those events in a single session and as such would level up after only one session. Now, in a game meant primarily for people who have never played D&D before, I find this to be a bit problematic. It's true, it starts to kind of color their expectations of how games might go in other campaigns. On top of that, midway through the campaign, he introduced an evil party, also played by us, interesting, to serve as rivals to the good guys. This was also a problem. The cycle quickly kind of became good guys do a thing, evil guys undo it, and then good guys just redo the thing, so on and so forth. Okay, I will say though, I'm not mad at that concept initially of like having a party. I would say though, I don't think this is a good idea at all for brand new players, but I would say like I think for like more veteran or seasoned players, having them make a good party and then an evil party, kind of like I kind of like that. That sounds actually rather interesting and intriguing to me. I'm not gonna lie. During this time, we started dating. Oh boy. And Crow decided the other really funny thing he could do was pinch my inner arm because that's the place that hurt the most and I never reacted. Eventually, he got bored of that. All right. As I mentioned, Crow wasn't great at handling when things didn't go his way in universe. For example, I was shamed for not saving my brother from death, even though the way to save him was not ever made clear, even with a medicine check. Another example involved his DMPC. The guy had made a heel face turn and started working for the bad guys and demonstrated this by killing a beloved NPC. And then when my character punched him, stole the corpse back, and attempted to resurrect our friend, I was then berated in character and then shamed out of character for somehow not magically knowing that the DMPC was in fact not actually evil, but was a mole, and that I was ruining a plan to get a spy on the inside. Yeah, not great. During all of this, he started sending me threatening messages via Discord, deleting them when I saw them, and then claiming to have absolutely no recollection of sending them at all, and that I was crazy. It was starting to erode at my mental health. I became a nervous wreck. He also discussed at this point moving with me to a campground to tend. Eventually, two things happened which changed the trajectory of the entire campaign. The evil party learned that there was a book in the capital city that would allow anyone to turn into a lich. The second thing was that the good party got a deck of many things. Oh, God. The deck will come up later, but I will take the time to say that I think the deck has no place in a campaign that doesn't want to break in half. No effing shit. Yes, 100% agree. Anyways, the evil party set out to get the book as my evil character, a necromancer wizard, could make good use of lichdom. Quick aside to talk about my wizard. Taurus was evil, through and through. Blatantly chaotic evil, he kept a teenager trapped in his tower for the sole sake of tormenting her with modified memory. Good God. In retrospect, I feel like this was probably a cry for help on my part. Anyways, he was uncharismatic, snide, and loved causing problems on purpose. I told Crow that from the point that Taurus got the book onward, that he could be played by the GM, as I didn't feel comfortable running someone who could be overpowered. He agreed, and I trusted him to just keep to the spirit of the character. The good party, inevitably, was able to stop Taurus before he became a lich. They killed him, then revived him to get information from him. During this time, the party found a strange artifact that I had never heard of or agreed to on his person, which compelled the wearer to want to commit wanton murder. It is then revealed that Taurus was actually never truly evil, but instead was just controlled by this artifact and had the general demeanor of a shonen protagonist when spoken to in private. Gotta love it. Just checking off every single box here. Shonen protagonist. Wow. So much for keeping to the spirit of the character. Now, eventually, the first campaign wrapped after an unclimactic final fight against the evil party, but not before one final bonus boss fight against a constructed multi-element dragon with like 1,000 HP that had previously destroyed the Feywild. Something else that we were punished for in character, despite having no out-of-character indication of any sort of distress. We all got to choose from our cast of good and evil characters on who we wanted to play as in the fight. Now, most of the players played martial classes, and as such, chose martial classes, which then made the GM's decision to stay out of bow range, blast the party with an attack, and then fly back further out of range, particularly frustrating. Turns quickly devolved into the party standing in a circle, pulling a card from the deck of many things, and then passing the deck along to the next player in hopes of pulling something good. Eventually, someone got to wish for a way to defeat the dragon, which you'd hope would just ground the damn thing or something along those lines. But no, once again, the day was saved thanks to the DM PC and his pet NPCs. see, like right here and then, I also got to ask, like, okay, if she's had some experience here with TTRPGs, if it's like a dragon, like this thing has 1,000 HP, does it have like 1,000 movement speed too? Because even an ancient dragon's movement speed isn't enough to get out of range of like bows, like the full range of a bow. Maybe it's enough to get out of normal range to then make it disadvantage, but you could still, like, the dragon couldn't attack you like with its just ranged weapon, or usually only its breath weapon. That's only if it obviously restores it on its turn. Like this, I don't know. This whole thing again seems like you could have called out a lot of shit here right away, but we'll continue on. And little nitpicker there. And that's when we started campaign 2 by Crow. Wow, they doubled up. It would take place in the far future of campaign 1 and would be a Shadowrun campaign set in the 5e rule set. Interesting. I offered him my Shadowrun books. He declined. All magic classes were banned, as was Rogue for being too powerful, which basically left Monk, Fighter, and Barbarian to choose from. Unless, of course, you were one of his most specialist of special players, in which case you got to play a bard. The campaign didn't last long, but notably, we killed a god, and it was revealed that my character was a demigod who could eventually ascend. Okay, so at this point, in the real world, I was not doing well. He started choking me in front of our friends, who thought it was part of a BDSM dynamic and as such, said nothing, holding me under at the pool and all around tormenting me. Jesus, dude. Eventually, I suffered a psychotic break and went to Crow asking him to reality check me because he was my boyfriend and I wanted to trust him. Oh, that just breaks my heart, man. I asked him to tell me that I was not uniquely special and I was just a normal person. Instead, what he said shook me to my core. Not only was I special, I was a god, being tested and abused in this reality to prove that I was strong enough for godhood. He too was a god and had been waiting for me to piece together that the second campaign was all about my true reality before moving on to the next phase of the plan. I vomited. Crow kept playing darts. I wish I could say that this was when I woke up and decided to leave. I told him to never talk to me like that again. Sure, but I didn't leave. It took him making a particularly risky financial decision that didn't pay off for me to say that I didn't want to be with him anymore. I told him as much, blocked him, and haven't heard from him directly since. Though apparently my friends who have seen him in passing said that he has no idea why I broke up with him. I'm sure I've left out some information along the way, but this is the broad strokes of the biggest bastard I have ever met in my life. TLDR, GM runs a pretty shitty campaign for beginners, is also an abusive shitbag behind the camera. End post. This shit, listen, like this, again, the amount of mental and emotional manipulation, hell, even coupled with, the physical abuse. Like this is like some shit that they try to make fun of, like in Family Guy, where like Peter will do shit like this or whatever to like Meg or even Lois at times. And it's like this shit though, like this isn't funny, man. This is just fucked up. Like I just like, I know, again, she gave her reasons and she clearly herself was not in a good place. And that's like, it breaks your heart to see that it's just like that she had to deal with this kind of treatment. Cause like nobody just, unless you are an absolutely irredeemable bastard yourself, no one deserves this treatment or behavior. Like, and like, especially because she stayed with him, like she wanted to trust him. It's like, you're my boyfriend and I want to trust you. Like that should be rewarded, not fucking taken advantage of. Like, I don't understand why this happens. Like, I don't understand why didn't anybody say anything? Like, What about the rest of the players? If the dude is literally choking her in front of the rest of the players, why would you not say something? Why,
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say like this. I feel bad for people like who get themselves into this situation, but like you this was evident before they started dating, and you have shitty fucking friends, and I hope you find new friends because look, on one hand, sure, you could be into some weird shit, but if you're doing that in public in front of other people without their consent is weird.
yeah,
I don't
like
want to be a part of your weird BDSM fetish. Get the fuck
there's
out of here.
literally, yeah, there's literally a comment down here. It's like, yeah, no, these friends seriously suck. I guess I can only speak for myself, but if I see someone being physically assaulted, my first thought isn't going to be, oh, clearly it must just be some part of consensual sexual experience of theirs. And even if it was, the next question has to be, why are they involving me in their sexual activities without my consent? Just seriously. Like, and I, again, like Sam just said, like this, but like legitimate. It's like there is in no way, shape, or form any reason why a person should like witness that and be like, this is fine. Like, okay, yeah, this is perfectly fine. Like, in some way or another, just like ask a question. Like, literally, just be like, hey, are you okay? To be fair, she probably would have just said yes because where her mindset was and her state of mind was, she wouldn't have thought anything, I guess, was like wrong. Or she would have just maybe not wanted to have been a burden on anybody else. She did not love herself and maybe even thought that she maybe deserved some of it. Like she most likely would not have reached out, unfortunately, even though she herself does admit in hindsight, like the way she was playing that wizard character seemed like it was a legitimate cry for help. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would have reacted had somebody actually maybe stepped up and put out an olive branch for her to maybe grab onto. Like I don't, and that's why I just I don't understand why people don't do that. Like why don't, like if you see some shit happening, you are connected to this. Like if you're in a D&D campaign with somebody and you have been for a while, I would say it's probably not an unfair thing to assume that you might kind of be friends now. You guys have all mutually decided to spend time together doing this thing for hours at a time, potentially for months, if not maybe even years. So it's like, how can you do that without having some legitimate care for these people that you're with? As long as, again, as long as they're not horrible, shitty people and players, like, I feel like you probably would develop some kind of camaraderie or companionship, at which case, why are you not doing something to help if you see some weird questionable shit happening? Like I just like I don't know. Like I
It's weird.
it just, I mean, like I just, I understand where that mindset comes from, because I think everybody can have it to varying degrees where you're just, you're demoralized or you're just straight up severely depressed, or like OP, you're having like a mental break because of whatever else is happening going on. And it's hard to discern what's real, what's not, what you should believe, what you shouldn't. And you don't have like, you're all jumbled and fucked up, it's like, but it's, exactly because of that, it's just, it's like, why, like, times like these, people need a bit of help and assistance. That's what friends are for. That's what family is for. I mean, if she couldn't necessarily count on her family for some reason, like,
It's just a weird one.
I don't know, man. Like this kind of shit here where it's, and for this GM, bro, God, dude, if there's ever a fucker who needs to go to hell and burn for all eternity, like this dude is one of them. Like, not only was this guy, like, there's one thing about just being a shit GM, but he is a worse person, which is impressive, honestly. Like, I just, again, like I feel like he's either, I feel like I feel like he has to be a sociopath. Like, I feel like he literally, he just doesn't care. Like he literally just thought it was a joke. Like he just didn't give a shit at all about her, and would just actively like he has to be a sociopath with the way that he's behaving, with all the constant physical abuse. Like, it didn't seem like, I guess he took it like again to the point of it being like he's beating her like directly, but he's like doing all of this, like these little things to get her reactions and shit, to like see how she reacts, like almost like a freaking experiment or whatever. Heck, maybe he's psychopathic. Maybe he can't even feel shit.
Yeah,
This is like the type of shit that a dude does, or he like, you know, he tortures animals or whatever, and then he then upgrades to humans afterwards, like as he gets older. Like this is severely effed up in so many ways, and it sickens me to my core that like nobody again did anything. They didn't even ask questions. That's it. Like, you don't have to like be like, stop this. It's like, okay, maybe this is consensual, but if that's the case, you know, maybe, you know, they shouldn't be doing it in front of you, for one, shouldn't be involving you in it. Two, if it's not, like, what if it's not? Ask a question. You're just gonna leave this like,
yeah, that's weird.
and you know, people wonder like why our country or countries or world is in the state that it's in. It's like this is such low stakes here, such low stakes. And if we can't even count on people to be able to step up in moments like these, like what, how do, I don't know how we expect to be able to handle any of the actual like legitimate bigger issues overall. Like, I like, goddamn, bro, this just breaks my heart. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next one. Maybe we can get a bit of a palate cleanser here to maybe switch out some of the depressing, the super just sad, depressing shit of that. But you know what? Maybe we don't have to end it sad, because you know what? OP said that she got out, and I think that she's doing better now. So that's maybe what we should focus on, is that she's doing better now, better place. I hope, I think she's grown and she's learned, and hopefully she'll never find herself in that situation ever again.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next
one. Okay. I have maybe lost a 12-year friend over D&D. Okay, I was going to promise that I'd try to keep this short, but realistically that won't happen. So TLDR at the end. So this revolves around my current Pathfinder group. I met them about 2 years ago when I asked my friend of 10 years, he's the focus of this particular nastiness, if his DM would be okay with me as a 6th player. DM was, I joined, it was good. A silly game where we were all evil and did random nonsense. A few months in, our DM got relocated by his job, as it was a physical game at a local store that basically ended it. We didn't want to break up the group, and I was the only one with a decent level of RPG experience who was also willing to DM. The friend who this post is about was the other with experience, but flatly refused to try DMing. So I became the DM. My friend has always been a bit contrarian, both in real life and with his characters. We all joined a devil cult. His character refused. We want to ride north. He wants south to get revenge on some tiny village that we barely knew existed. And IRL, he will only use basic SMS. I don't know what that. Oh,
standard
like
messaging
texting.
system. Yeah, standard
no
messaging
social
system.
media or messenger apps. Won't use anything Apple because Apple bad. Meta bad. Only uses Android because he regards it as the lesser evil. But he also has 2 big character flaws. He won't communicate when something is wrong, and eventually that makes him angry and aggressive. It's not something that happens often, but when it does, it's memorable. A few months ago, he was like this. Started complaining I was setting up too slow for the game. I just finished work, hadn't eaten yet, and while his journey to the store for the game is a 5-minute walk, mine's a 35-minute drive. And for clarity, this is Europe, where 100 years isn't long, but a 20-mile drive at rush hour feels eternal. I joked I'd go slower to annoy him. That's a pretty standard kind of joke in our group, and I didn't actually slow down. Everyone else is laughing like normal, but he suddenly snaps. Well, that makes you a shitty DM. Of course, that was a record scratch, what the fuck moment. I called him out on it. Told him that if he didn't rein that shit in, I'd be packing up and we wouldn't game that day. He didn't apologize, but he did go back to normal, so we moved on. Gamed for another 6 months. We started another evil campaign. He decided to be the face because no one else had a charisma above 11. We were a few sessions in. It had all been fun. Then we get to last week. I get there and he's clearly in a mood. One of the others was asking him to help put the two tables for our game together. Standard tables, not heavy. He usually helps do it, as those two are the first two, and it guarantees us our normal spot. This time, he sits on a sofa grumbling and then snaps that he's tired of it being his responsibility all the time. I had just helped put the tables together, which took 2 seconds. He then wanders over, and as we get into the game, he seems more normal. Players are doing shopping, Rogue wants to get something enchanted, and asks him as the face to help negotiate. He responds, you've given me no reason to help you. He starts criticizing the amount the merchant wants to charge for the enchanting, the book standard value, because the merchant apparently won't make any money. This isn't the first time he's tried telling me that things I'm doing by the book as the DM are wrong. Usually I have to shut him down with a, look, I'm DMing, this is what it is. I've even challenged him to DM and do better. He always refused. In the end, I cut him off, remind him that I'm the DM, so the price is what I say it is. And that's even in an evil campaign. You have to make a character who is at least vaguely willing to work with the party. It was also wildly hypocritical, as in the last campaign, their roles were reversed and he was always demanding negotiation for his stuff. I also know for a fact that if it had been either of the girls wanting the negotiation, he'd been right on it, trying to figure out the best modifier he could. He goes all quiet and starts to sulk.
Of course.
I'm helping another player pick an enchantment, and a bit later, I'm struggling to think of one. I ask him, and he just snaps, use your god powers and make it up, and then goes silent again. One of the players, who has been going through her own shit recently, asks if he's okay. He snaps at her, no, I'm being penalized for role-playing integrity. Note, he had not in any way been penalized or forced to do anything. He wouldn't negotiate, so the rogue had to use his own charisma.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what the hell do you mean you've been penalized? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Then he goes, this is pointless. You know what? This is pointless. Why am I still here? Downs his drink and storms out. This left everyone pissed off and honestly hurt. He completely went silent on us for days. I even sent him an "Are you actually okay?" because he is still my friend. He ignored me. Other friends reached out. It was just, everything is fine. I asked them to make sure he was okay because he was ignoring us. Then he started messaging one of the players who had been in the toilet when it all went down, so she missed it. First, it was, are you okay, for some reason? Then, why has our group chat gone dead? We stopped using it when this went down because we didn't want to pretend everything was normal, so we were waiting to see if he'd say anything. So she told him we were hurt and upset by what he did, and we were basically waiting for an apology. His response was to leave all the various group chats we were in together and cancel his tickets to all the things we had planned as a group. So then on Saturday, we all went round to his as a bit of a 2-for-1 deal. If he wanted to talk, we'd listen. If not, he had about $1,000's worth of my board games stored, and I wanted them back, then we'd go. When we got there, we could hear him in the kitchen, but wouldn't answer the door until one of the girls messaged him and said it was her. He opens up, invites her in, but when he realizes it's not just her, he shifts on a dime back to sulking. Won't tell us anything. Apparently everything is fine, so I start getting my stuff. While I'm at the car, he says to the girl he invited in, you could have reached out 10 days ago to see why I stormed out. She replies that the DME had on the Monday, and he just scoffs and goes, oh, I blocked him. Thankfully, she's not the type to take hypocrisy blindly, so she goes, well, how can you complain that no one reached out to you when you blocked the person you knew would do it first? No good answer. As we were leaving, one of the others, the youngest, nicest guy in the group, asked us if he is really okay. He could start World War III, and he's so nice, you'd still like him. So what does the jackass say? Yeah, we're done here, and slam the door in his face. So yeah, 12-year friendship, third of my life, realistically my oldest friend who isn't a message on your birthday type, cut out half of his local friends over being told no in D&D. Or if there was some grander reason, we don't know, because he won't tell us. So we can only go on what we know and what we've seen. And now the rest of his friend circle is kind of on the defensive because his friend circle and mine are more or less the same. So they know what's been going on because they clocked that I was only coming to things when he wasn't and asked why. TLDR, player of 12 years, storms out of game because he was told no, and as he tries to backseat DM, then cuts off most of his friends when they want an apology. I mean, it's sad to say this, but like I know the feeling, but you're way better off without a person like this in your life.
I mean, that's like the
It's
unfortunate
it's just
truth.
that's just the truth.
I mean, the unfortunate truth is just like if he is not only unwilling to talk about whatever shit is going on, but is then bringing it and like taking it out on you guys, he's just projecting this toxicity and this shit on you. And he's again, he's not willing to talk about it with you. He's just staying silent and sulking, or not even sulking, but throwing tantrums and then blaming you guys for it. Like, yeah, 100%. He needs to go. He needs to just be gone. This person again is also exceedingly just toxic and abusive. And if you're too immature, if you're literally gonna act like a fucking 4-year-old where you're annoyed about something, but you think that, oh well, whatever this person seemingly did in your mind, they don't even know that anything is wrong, or not even that anything. They know that something's wrong, but they don't know that they necessarily did anything wrong for you. They don't know that like they are apparently maybe the reason that you feel the way you feel, and you're not actively telling them, but you're just passive aggressively shitting on them or screwing with them or lashing out at them for reasons that don't make sense. And even if they directly ask you, hey, are you okay? Is something wrong? And you don't say shit, or you then like deflect or redirect to being it's something else where you're like, yeah, I'm being penalized. Like, no, I'm not okay. I'm being penalized for just role play integrity.
Yeah.
What do you talk? And then, like, on top of the fact, he's clearly showing favorites because it's like, oh, well, whenever the girls apparently are there or show interest or require his attention, well, nigga snaps too, like attention right immediately, like ready to freaking go apparently. But then the moment he sees other people, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I know he's going through some shit. I get that, but I can't. I don't have any real empathy for this guy. In fact, I hate people like this the most. I hate people who, like even OP says, and like, hypocrisy, being fucking hypocritical, literally going like, you guys could have like checked up on me 10 days ago to figure out why I left. And it's like, well, I mean, we did. The GM tried to. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, I blocked him. And it's like, well, why? Like, so you're wanting people to care. You're wanting specific people to care, but not other people to care. Obviously, clearly, because you have a fucked up, screwed up agenda here. That like people are trying to show you legitimate consideration and care, and for some reason you're not taking it. Again, for reasons you don't even know. Like if you're not even willing to talk about it, you're not even willing to just be on. Like even just say some shit, like just simple shit, like there's some stuff or there's some really messed up stuff kind of going on in my life right now. It's got me really tense. It's got me really stressed and anxious. Like I don't really want to talk about it more than that, but I'm just, there's some shit going. Like even that would be
is better than this.
Something. Exactly. Even that would be better than him just not only not saying it, but then again, passive aggressively redirecting that shit. If of course there even is anything bigger. Because like they said, it's like seemingly the only thing that they did that he got pissed off about was he got told no in a D&D campaign for his behavior. He basically got checked. He got put in his place as a backseat GM or whatever. And at that, and then other than that, it's like the OP hasn't showcased anything here that they did wrong.
Yeah.
Like it makes the most sense that it's got to be something else besides this, because it's absolutely insane if he's actually going to get so pissed off about this. But if that's the case, then he's even worse. It's even dumber and worse if he's literally going to have this kind of reaction to basically just being put in his place. And
it's pathetic. I mean, at the very least, which
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
have.
we've talked about stuff like this before, and the sad part is that more often than not, you're better off just not interacting.
Yeah, no, because they just want to wallow or whatever the hell. They just want to wallow in their self bullshit or whatever the hell it is. Like I usually always try to have some empathy, sympathy, or consideration of anybody. And like I said, even for him, it's like, okay, if you're going through some shit, I get that. But that in no way, shape, or form excuses your behavior here, nor does it the fact that what are you doing about it? Like if
Yeah.
you're feeling this way, if you're in a shitty place where you're literally like, what are you like? Your friends are literally here to help, and you're just choosing not to talk to them. So you know what? Fuck off, bro. You can fuck off. Go away at that point. You know what? No, you are not deserving of consideration or empathy or sympathy at that point. I'm sorry. If that's how you're going to choose to behave, even when given not even just one opportunity, not just two opportunities, multiple opportunities. So many people, so many times, multiple times have come to you and asked you straight up, what's up? Are you okay? You know, just trying to have a legitimate human connection and moment here, offering an olive branch for you. And this dude just every time spits in their face, slams the door in the face of this dude that OP says is like the nicest guy you'd ever meet, which is, you know, wow.
Unfortunate.
Oh, but again, when the girls come, then all of a sudden he's got room to be more considerate, kind of. But then he still has this real fucking shit ass immature thing of like, well, you know, you could have like, you know, called sooner 2 days ago to know like why I left. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up, dude. Shove it up your ass. Go away, bro. Go the fuck away. Pathetic. You're just I'm sorry. I don't like to just write people off, but god damn, bro. That is some of the most pathetic shit, dude. That shit is just such a bad taste. Such a fucking bad taste. Honestly, all the comments down below are saying the same too. Top comment, you're better off without him. Sulky people that don't open up and then blame others for not making them open up are just terrible people to have to handle. Besides, if he's whining about a tabletop game, then he'll whine about actually serious things.
Oh yeah.
Very well put. Very well put, sir. OP responds and says, yeah, thing is, he never used to be this bad. But I think maybe it's that thing of how you don't notice how your own face has changed when you look in the mirror. Then you look at a photo from like 20 years ago and see it. I didn't see the changes until this threw it into focus. Okay. I mean, again, honestly, I thought OP handled this whole situation really well. I didn't think at any point that he was being like shitty or even like insensitive necessarily. Like, because at no point was it really clear like that he was in a bad mood or that it was, and then, or rather when it was clear that he was in a bad mood, you know, OP, he didn't deliberately say some shit or whatever. He was still just trying to have a lighthearted thing, be friends. And then they even tried to ask like, what's up? What's going on?
Yeah.
And the dude just slapped any outstretched hand away. Like,
with not a sense to it at all. It's just so stupid to me.
yeah, agreed. It's sad and stupid. I just these types of people I just can't, man. Again, I feel like this is some real sincere narcissistic shit is what I feel like.
Oh,
This
definitely.
this seems like some super narcissistic shit here where it's just, again, I didn't do anything wrong. You guys did something wrong. You should be fixing it. You need to be doing this thing specifically to fix it because that's what I'm saying is required. Like, if you actually cared about me, then you would do this thing. Like, I hate that. I hate that. That's just, ugh, God. Let's go ahead and move on to the last story of the day, y'all. This last one is titled Probably My Worst Boss Fight to This Date by Ghost B4RD0. I don't know if that's supposed to be Birdo, maybe?
Maybe.
But anywho, hello guys, first time poster. I've been lurking in this subreddit for a while now and decided to post my admittedly worst experience I have ever had with a D&D party. And this is gonna be a long one, but I will try my best to focus on what's important. English is also not my first language, so I do apologize for any mistakes and please feel free to correct me. Now on to the story. Hey, we appreciate that. No worries, bud. So I was invited to join this this campaign that one of my players was playing in, that he was a GM for. So that's how I will be referring to him for this. Now, there's two things I need to say for the understanding of this story. The first one is that we use in this campaign a homebrew system that mixes D&D with a system called Ordim Paranormal, or Paranormal Order. And the second thing is, in his world, our characters are ruled by the tarot cards that have been designated to them. For example, my character, an occultist, has the card the Mage associated to him. These cards give us special powers and disadvantages related to the card, and this is important for the next part of this whole thing. The Healer and the Fighter. So their cards are the Lovers. And basically because of that, if one of them dies, the other one also does. And the final part of this is the one I'm going to refer to as the Barbarian. And that campaign was their first time playing any TTRPG. And those are the key parts of the following shit show that we'll be describing next. But just be aware that the party also had more people that I will be calling Victim A and Victim B for reasons that will be clear later on, and also an NPC. Now, enough context, let's get her going. My occultist had joined the party recently after the bad guys had burned down his house. Joined them to seek revenge for his house. He had built it with his own hands, after all. And after a couple of days tracking one of the bad guys down, they stumbled upon an ancient temple. And upon entering, they found out that the evil group was planning to kill the goddess of the north, and my party would not let that happen. Cue epic fight begins. And that's when a few red flags started rising, stuff like the fighter not taking any action unless it was to protect the healer and the barbarian, out of character, might I add, just telling us to leave and not fight and spending most of their turns pulling Victim B around. The rest of us, me, the victims, and the GM NPC were the only ones actually doing anything during the fight. Luckily, though, that fight was surprisingly easy, which caused a change of attitude in the others, and they started helping more. Until Victim A laid the killing blow on the bad guy's leader, and he turned into an effing golden dragon. Now, the fight actually had begun. Or now the fight had actually begun. Now that thing was strong, it's weird. Now, this thing was strong, and the dice were on the GM side. So my party members' brilliant idea after the damn dragon one-shotted the NPC was to run. Now, I was initially on board with this because everyone seemed to be with it as well. But the thing is, the dragon could move freely in his lair, which meant that instead of using his movement speed to, well, move, he used it to attack, and he could move afterwards. Well, okay. But we also find out that it was extremely vulnerable to death magic, which coincidentally, my character was an expert on. So we had a chance, right? Yeah, we could have if the effing fighter hadn't grabbed the only healer of the party and fled using her card ability, which basically allowed her to have 2 actions and double movement speed when together with the other user of her card. And she did it knowing that it would kill the rest of us. I told her up front that if she did this, it would mean that we would all die. Mind you, at that point, the dragon had already hit Victim B twice, and he was almost down. Victim A, who was the tank, was also with less than half of his life after a single crit from the dragon. Now, I was taking a good chunk of the dragon's life, even when he saved against my rituals, but I had little health left myself. But even still, the fighter said, I don't care. I will run with the healer. You guys try to keep up. Both of them were full health, by the way. The healer just went along with it. And at that point, I was furious. I didn't think it would get any worse than that, but boy, oh boy, it did. Victim B was the first to die, and then that triggered the barbarian, who just left the session because according to them, if Victim B real name is not playing anymore, then I won't either. Yeah, they literally abandoned the session because their crush died. The GM said nothing, just looking defeated and sad, and just ended up killing the barbarian player per the player's request, or the barbarian character per the player's request. Soon after, victim A died, protecting my character, which, by the grace of God, managed to stun the dragon for 2 turns and burned all the last of my ritual spells and spell slots I had, managing to deliver enough damage to finally kill him. I pretty much solo killed that thing because half of the party was either completely useless and used the excuse of, well, that's just what my character would do, to throw the rest of us under the bus. Needless to say that I blew up on them, and I'm not proud of some of the colorful words that I used and said to them, but I was just so incredibly frustrated because literally most of the party died because of bad player conduct. And you know the worst part? Apparently, that wasn't even the first time that the fighter and the healer had pulled something like that. But it was the first time that it had killed someone's character. Oh, and the GM didn't want to get involved in it. He didn't even say that what they did was wrong or anything like that. He didn't even say that what they did was wrong or anything like that. His excuse for just letting them get away with it was, well, it's a matter between players, and I would rather you guys just solve it between yourselves. Yeah, I don't think I'll be playing with them anymore. Thank everybody for reading this. End post. This was, I'll be honest with you, this was a little bit difficult to read through. There aren't any real like breakings, like you had like basically 3 whole paragraphs, and the last one is just like, obviously, again, like no hate or no anything at all, just as a constructive criticism. Like, it might be helpful here or there to kind of break some of this up a little bit to make it a little bit easier to kind of read, since it all kind of just goes through as kind of a bit of a run-on sentence. So it's difficult at times to see where the breath catches are. Just as a heads up for you.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm really sorry that you had to deal with this, because yeah, like, I picked this one because I think both me and Sam can both mutually agree this is some absolutely asinine shit right here. Like, this kind of player behavior, and even with the GM too, the GM is also not innocent at all in this because of literally what they said at the bottom. But this kind of player behavior, like, again, I'm not sure exactly what this weird hybrid system that you guys are using looks like.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, I don't know about, like, oh, first off, he's using a gold dragon, which one is usually a you know, it's a good aligned creature. So normally it won't be fighting enemies or other good aligned things. So I feel like the GM just took it because it's the most powerful chromatic dragon,
Seems like it,
essentially. And then gave it even more crazy shit, I guess. Because it's like, oh, it can just freely move around its lair without having to use its speed, and can use its speed or movement to attack instead, but then still move.
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, I don't know what system y'all were using, but I don't see how in any way, shape, or form that makes any sense to me. Like, unless it's just like, oh, he has like a lair action that allows him to instantly teleport or something, maybe. Like, maybe that's what it is. He can just teleport, I guess. I assume maybe, but even then that's also just kind of busted, where it's just like, oh yeah, he not only can just teleport, which is fine, but it's like, oh, but he can use his speed, his movement to attack you now, which is like, wait.
Huh?
Wait, what? Like, and then to top it all off, like my biggest thing here with this, with fighter and healer, if all you're gonna do is run away, why are you playing the game?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, to be sure.
Why are you here? What are you doing?
I think
you're just gonna tell everybody to run away all the time.
A lot of people, I think, just like don't understand actually how this is supposed to work. They're just kind of like, oh, this is what I do now. It's like, all right, cool, man.
It's like you're playing a game to be a punk ass wuss puss coward who's just gonna run away. Like, you do that in real life already, don't you? So why are you doing it in a fantasy game? Like, isn't that the point? You're playing the game because you maybe want to pretend that you're not that at some point. Like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't necessarily say that, but that's kind of the only thing I can think of where it's just like, if you're doing this in a game, good lord, like in a game where you're literally supposed to be like badass, powerful heroes, taking on, you know, like all kinds of like, good Lord, what kind of a person, like, how crazy insane must it be to be you in real life? Like,
It's
Jesus.
definitely, yeah, definitely an interesting way to
Like
do it.
this is your fantasy. Like this is your imagination. This is your fantasy right now. Where you just gonna run away from every obstacle or enemy because you're scared of dying. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Everybody has attachment to their characters, right? Nobody necessarily wants their character to die unless it's like a meme joke character or something you don't care about. But even then, it's like you don't necessarily want them to die, because if you enjoy playing them, why would you want them to die? So with that being the case, I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has attachment, that's fine.
Yeah.
But to make it so that, like, you are literally so terrified of your character, not even necessarily even dying, but even just taking damage. Like, you're terrified you're a fighter and you're not fighting. What are you doing? What is the point of your character? What are you doing? What is the point? Oh, I'm just gonna protect the healer, and I get it. You know, if the healer dies, so do you. That sucks. I don't like that mechanic at all. That is a really bad mechanic, to basically be like, you guys are now eternally bound to one another in terms of like, this person's choices or well-being now is directly tied to your own, regardless of your decision, really. That's
Yeah.
not the best mechanic or dynamic, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely not.
But, you know, I will say, well, that I would then also say, then conversely, if the healer heals herself, you would probably heal too then, right? Like, I guess technically don't both take damage, but it's like, either way. This
You're
whole
not
thing,
wrong.
there's a lot of shit that I feel, again, the GM themselves is also a pretty big contender, because like I said, the way that they decided to set up this so-called like hybrid homebrew system, like,
It's questionable at best.
yeah, like, so some of them want to play longer than he was GM for. I don't know how long they've been playing. I don't know like how experienced this GM is, but there's just a lot of weird fuckery mechanical stuff going on here that also just makes me less than optimistic about this GM's capacity. Because on top of everything else, he literally says the words, this is a matter between players, and I would rather that you guys just solve it between yourselves. Like, my man, homie, my dude, my brother in Christ, and whatever else you want to say, you know, you are the GM. It is literally in your job description to help handle and sort out conflicts in the group and the party. That's literally part of your job. That is the whole point of really, that is one of the biggest points of having a GM. Like, what are you gonna do? You know, you just lost a player because of that now. Maybe, maybe the other, maybe, you know, maybe now too, since the OP has shown up and has, you know, conveyed how much they dislike this, he went off on them. I honestly, I would have been super interested to hear what their actual explanations were, besides just, well, it's what my character would do. Like, he just went off on them and just berated them. And honestly, I don't feel I can really blame him, because yeah, that whole situation, I would also be exceedingly frustrated with that. I think, like, if I was in his shoes, and two, even three players literally basically just dipped out for stupid reasons, like the freaking fighter and the healer are like, yeah, no, we're leaving, bye. And it's like,
nah, man.
you're the healer, you're supposed to be healing, what are you doing? Like, we can defeat this thing, or they're like, try, or, you know. And then on top of, like, the barbarian's like, oh well, yeah, my crush's character died, so I'm done too, just kill me too. And you're like, what? Don't you maybe want to even try to save them? Like, if you have a crush on her, don't you want to maybe try to save her?
Don't you want to like do anything?
Don't you could be like a hero. You could literally go and save her. You could like defeat the dragon or help defeat the dragon, get her body and revive her. Like what logic? What are these people thinking? I just oh my god.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. I really don't understand it. If I'm being completely honest. It's just I think some people just shouldn't. I don't want to say shouldn't play, but shouldn't try to do this like their like own custom fucking weird bullshit. I don't think a lot of people actually do a great job. You know, I've been with played with people that actually do a good job and
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
have
that.
too. I play with people who've done some pretty awesome, badass homebrew kind of things, like, but this here, like, I don't know, because the obviously the biggest thing that gets me the most just triggered and furious is these players making the decisions that they did. Because regardless of even like again, it's already probably questionable that the GM's drag. Like to be fair, the GM did basically make it like, oh, but it's like exceedingly weak and susceptible to like death magic or whatever. Like I assume like it's like necrotic damage or whatever, and so and so it was like, okay, great. You have a character that can deal a lot of necrotic damage. Literally, they were able to almost solo the creature, apparently, by what they're saying. Now,
Yeah.
that being the case, it's like, okay, I will give the GM credit on that at the very least. They seem to make some kind of weird, questionable decisions for the dragon and stuff, but they also did give it an actual capitalizing weakness. There was a weakness that you could actually utilize and capitalize on to clear effect, which is great. You know what? I respect that then. Sure. That is 1 point to the GM. However, the fact that Jim again isn't stepping in at all for this player conflict, like just like along with the fact that these players have not just once. This isn't the only time they've done this. They've done this many times before, apparently too, or at least a few other times.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, and more often than not, they seem to always be like, no, let's just run away. Just run away. Let's just run away. It's like, why are you an adventurer then? Go away. Go back to wherever the hell, whatever, and stop putting yourself in harm's way. Why are you here? You are now effectively useless. You are a non-player, a non-character in this world.
Yeah.
Why are you here? Like the amount of times, like I feel like it shouldn't have to be said. I feel like it shouldn't have to be, but evidently it does, and that players, you always have to make, and literally an OP said this in a previous post that we just read a little while ago, you always have to make a character that wants to work with the party. For some reason, for whatever it might be, that you have to give your characters motivations for being with and working with the party, even if they're evil. That is the whole point. That is it, like
Yeah. It really is like the whole fucking point.
I don't know what.
No, I don't get it either.
I don't like I don't understand what goes through people's minds. It's just like are you having fun with this? If you're always so terrified of your character just being, obliterated or dead or axed, like, but you're not doing anything. You're just running away. Like, is that fun to you? Is that fun? You're a fighter who can't fight. What can you do then? What abilities of your class or character can you do? What do you do then? I don't know. Hey, you know what? Leave a comment down below. If you're a fighter who can't fight, what do you do? What do you do then at that point? What are you able to contribute, accomplish, or just do? What would be a fun thing to do as a fighter who cannot fight? Comment down below. I would be legitimately interested to hear some ideas and thoughts on that. But other than that, I do believe that that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you
Yeah.
guys so much. If you've stuck with us for this long, we so very much appreciate it. You guys are the real ones, honestly. Do be sure to like and again, comment down below on the video, subscribe and share the channel. Helps us out immensely. We always love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And we will be sure to catch you next time when we dive back down into the archive.
See you guys.